Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are the product success team. I am Lex.
And I am Rodney.
Today, we will be going over the label and packaging printer setup for Aldelo Express. If you have any questions, please keep your questions related to the topic at hand. Please keep yourself muted during the presentation. However, if you do have immediate question, you can ask your questions in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat as always. Otherwise, you can ask your questions verbally when we open up the floor for questioning. Just make sure you unmute yourself during that time. This allows the stores to print out labels for select items. It is recommended for select items, not all items, because the sticky rolls are expensive. But the main benefits for printing item labels is to help identify items, especially for items with similar packaging. Take example for pizza. Pizzas are typically packaged in identical boxes, or a deli that makes sandwiches. Sandwiches are wrapped in paper, and from the outside are they're not identifiable. Sticking a item label on an item helps ensure that the accuracy of the order. It also helps out customers determine what kind of pizza is in the box or what kind of sandwich it is. When orders are clearly labeled and accurate, it enhances the overall dining experience for customers. The printer used is an Epson TML90. It is a tested label printer. Paper used is a 3 1/8 inch sticky label. It should be continuous and should not be pre-cut labels. You can use regular receipt papers as well, but you can risk the labels falling off and the items no longer be identifiable by its packaging. The packing printer allows you to organize. The server can identify order accuracy by cross-referencing the order checklist. Customer loyalty, constantly accurate and well-organized orders lead to happy customers who are more likely to return and recommend your restaurant to others. Packing printers can save money in a long run by reducing errors and minimizing food waste. It works on all tested printers. Packing printer is mainly used for takeouts and delivery. However, you can enable this for dine-in and bar services as well. In summary, packing printers can enhance the efficiency and accuracy of order processing in restaurants. They streamline operations, improve customer service, and contribute to cost savings. When integrated into a restaurant workflow effectively, these devices become valuable tool for food services and establishment for all sizes. This is where you make changes to both label printers and packing printers. First one is the packing ticket. You can change the language, alternate language. You can also change the print options to print to dine-in, bar, takeout, drive-through, delivery, and you can make multiple copies of it. You can also show or hide the totals, street address, guest count, subtotals, and ticket number. On the item labels, on the print options, you can enable the dine-in and bar. Those are disabled by default. You can choose to print price, modifiers, and totals for each item. If the printer is set up to graphical, you can change the modifier font size. And then you want to set up the item setup. You want to go here. There are no item level setup for packing ticket. It will print out automatically for defined services. You can also enable print item labels for those items that you want printing labels to, since not all items needs label printing. And then in the point of sale, you want to go to hardware, and then you want to select your packing printer and your label printer as well. Make sure that you add your printers.
Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so from the cloud here, you do have to set up all the configurations from the cloud first. Well, especially for the labels, you can use the default settings that are already set up. All you have to do is set up the hardware on the application, but we will go over the configurations on the cloud here. So we do want to start with the configuration. So we're going to go to Settings, Store Config, Receipt, and Ticket Config. All right, so you're going to see the two tabs here, the packing ticket and item label. We'll go ahead and start with the packing ticket first. All right. So basically, the packing ticket serves as an order checklist. This helps to ensure the accuracy of the order. When the items are being bagged or sorted together, the employee can verify that all items related to that order are packaged together. All right, so some of the settings here, under the language settings, you can set the print to print out to these specific languages here. And also you'll see an option for alternate names. You can set it to primary, or the alternate, or both. Now you do have to have items that are set up with an alternate name, so that has to be defined as well. Then under the format options here, now you can there are a lot of settings that you can configure what will print out and what will not. So like if you don't want to print the time, you just leave this, or if you want it to print the time, you would just leave it as no. And if you do not want to print the time, select yes or toggle it over to yes. And there's a lot of settings here that, yeah, you can just go ahead and enable to disable some of the features there. So it's just all about configurations there and what the customer wants. This section here, this does require the setup of a printer, a dot matrix printer that supports printing in red. So if they wanted to have the titles print out in a different color, they do need to have a supported printer. And then, yeah, a bunch more settings here that they can disable or enable. Okay, and then under the printed messages, you can set up a custom header and a custom footer. So you'll see that I do have a custom header of this is the, and footer packing ticket there. You'll see examples later on where this prints out on the ticket when we go over the demo on the application and show the printouts there. All right, and then under the printed font sizes, these are all set to default. And you can see the different sizes here. And these sizes are all the same for each field there, so it just depends on what size they want it to print out. But an important note is that the printer, when set up, does have to be set up under the graphical mode. And you'll see in the demo how we set that up as well. Then under the print options, you can define which services the packing ticket will print under. By default, the dine-in and bar ticket are set to 0. We have it set to 1 just during testing. But typically these by default are set to 0 because these are on-premise services. Typically, when items are served directly to the customer, they are already ready for presentation, so they don't really need to have a packing printer there. But these values can be changed depending on what the customer wants there. And then once you have those settings saved, you can go ahead and sync the app once we get to the application. But we'll go into the item label configuration next. Okay, so pretty much item labels help identify items. So we're just going to go over these settings here. Under the print options, just like the packing ticket, you can determine which services they print under. And then under, let's see here, the delivery, you can, if these items were set for delivery, you can have the cross street and the delivery remarks printed on the item label there. Then you can set the different sizes, but it does specify you do have to use a graphical printer there. And then there's other settings here that you can turn on. You'll see there's also some Mesa Online order settings as well. So you can turn these on or off. And like I said, it's all the desired configuration for the customer there. But it's all pretty straightforward. We'll go ahead and save that. And so the configuration is all done from the receipt and ticket config. For the packing ticket, nothing else has to be done in the back office cloud. All that needs to be done is to connect the package printer on the app. Same for the item label. You do have to connect the printer on the app. However, there is one more step for the item label setup. We will have to set up items intended to have an item label printout. So we will do that next by going into the products, then item setup. Now for this demo, we will focus on one group. I have set up all the appetizers to print an item label. Not all items need to have an item label printout. Just like Lex mentioned earlier, pizzas are all packaged similarly, so they are harder to distinguish exactly what pizza's in the box. You do want to have that label so it does ensure the accuracy of the order. Now the setup is simple. We just have to determine which items need to have an item label printout, and you simply go into the item and turn on a flag. And like I mentioned, for demo purposes, I have enabled all the items under this group to print out an item label. So we're just going to go into one, and we'll go into the column here. And we'll just scroll down and show the extended settings. And it's pretty much the last setup or last setting for the print jobs. You'll see the prints item label there. I have already set this to yes. So again, any items that do require an item label, you do want to turn this on and then save it. So like I said, all these items here are set up to print out an item label. And that's pretty much it from the cloud. So we're going to go ahead and switch over on the application. And let me go and get that started here for you. Okay, so now we are on the application. The only thing that really needs to be done at this point is to sync. So if there were any changes made with the configuration of with the package slip or the item label, you pick up those changes. Then we're going to go into hardware, and we're going to make sure to connect the packing printer and the label printer. Right, so currently we do not have the label print set up here. We only have the Epson TMM10. I'm going to go ahead and set that as my packing printer. Like I said, the Epson L90 we do not have, but I still will connect to the TMM10. It will still print, however, it will not print onto the sticky paper. But we do have our printer set up here, and I'll show you examples of the printouts once we submit an order here. So we'll get logged in. We have set up our items under the appetizers to print to the label printer. So we'll go ahead and add some items in here and add some with multiple quantity. Then we'll push the order through. You can either hit the settle button or the check mark, the done button. Then we'll print out. Now I'll now show you an example of the printouts here. So here is an example of the package slip here. You'll see your items, and as you can see here, it does show the quantity for the items that have been ordered multiple times, like the edamame and onion rings. And you'll see that the packaging slip, I did have a custom header and footer that shows there. Then these are going to be the item labels. And you can see that they do have to print out individually. You'll see the 3 edamame and 2 onion rings there. Obviously, that's because they will be adhered to the individual items. And I'm going to go ahead and show you some different options. So I went ahead and changed some of these settings here. So the one you see in the middle is what the default settings were set to here. And you can see I've made some changes here. So you'll see there is a guest count number there. And below the address, I have enabled the cross streets and delivery remarks. And then some of the other differences as well is I have removed the X after the quantity. And you'll also notice that there is no totals for the items and the subtotals there. I have disabled the order number. And the ticket number. And the one on the left shows the global ID. And the default shows the date and time that the ticket was printed. Now on the far right, I have made some changes to the sizes. So I use a 3 times. So it's going to look drastically different than the default printer type there. All right, so now we're going to go into the label prints here. So the one in the middle was the default that we were using earlier. But the main difference is that the X is missing following the quantity. And you'll see that the price is enabled. The label print on the right, I have changed the sizing there as well. So you'll notice a drastic size difference as well. So in order for the sizes to take effect, you do have to set the printer type as graphical mode. So we're going to go back to my device here. And we're going to go back into the hardware. And what we're going to do for the packing printer and the label printer is we're going to change the printer type from the Epson TM-M10. We're going to change it to the TM-M10 graphical mode. Okay, so you'll see it shows as graphical mode there. And we do the same for the label printer. So that is one very important point. If they wish to customize the different sizes, they do have to make sure to update the printer type to the graphical mode. Okay, so do we have any questions?